The buying power of the African American community has increased tremendously, and especially when you think of more African Americans going to college, going into more higher education, and business ownership has exploded. When I began to think just about my own personal life, I'm the fourth generation out of slavery. And when I think of just that and put it into context in terms of just how my own family has accumulated assets over the years, whether it's home ownership, whether it's we have started our businesses, but more and more as we begin to look at just the assets in our community and just being more educated, certainly that has increased the buying power overall in the African American community. Even though we are a powerful buying unit, there are still myths out there, especially about the African American woman and the African American family. That one that comes to mind in terms of buying new cars, that as I walked into the car dealership, that it's amazing that I walked out of one equally as fast when they asked whether my husband was going to co-sign. They made an assumption about me. They made an assumption about my buying power. What I'd like for you to know about Barbara Hill as an African American, especially consumer, that I make my own decisions, that I still feel very strongly that you have to make it attractive to me and to really come and to think about me as a consumer in my community as well. And I think that's a critical piece, that don't hesitate to outreach the African American woman or the African Americans in our community. Come into our community, get to know us. If you want it, then outreach us. Make us feel that our dollars and our voices heard and counted. The biggest thing for us is how in the African American community that we can still continue to increase our financial literacy, and especially among women, because more and more we're outliving our husbands. And I speak from a married woman especially, and I tend to think that maybe I didn't get started in the game early enough, but there's still time for me to prepare towards my retirement. If a company does not meet my expectations as an African American woman in my community, that I sever the ties with that company. And my style is I don't go back, that I look for someone or another company that could provide my needs and services within my community. You don't get a second chance, that you've already demonstrated to me that you don't want my business, that you don't want my dollars, and that what is it that is so important, that's why I really believe that if you're doing a good job, if you're being a good corporate citizen, that I want to tell that story and I want to help you be successful. And if you're not being a good corporate steward, then you need to move on, because that you don't get a second chance, especially when you're working with the grassroots community, because there's an erosion of trust there that cannot be restored.